So how do you pass ACCA quickly? In today's video, I'm going to be sharing the 3 main methods that you can use in order to pass ACCA. Now, for each message, I'm going to be explaining the benefits and the negatives, and then also I'm going to be giving a brief explanation and then my opinion on it as well. Just by the way, for those of you who are curious, the last method is what I recommend doing the most. For those of you who are new, I'm Conrad and I'm an ACCA student at the strategic professional level. And on this channel, I help ACCA students with the tools and tips they need in order to pass ACCA. So how this video is going to be structured is I'm going to be going through the first method, which is studying and then working. The second method, which is working and then studying afterwards. And then the third method, which I'm currently busy doing, and that is working and studying full-time. So without further ado, let us dive in. Okay, so the first option that you actually have is studying full-time and then working after that. Okay, so there are 3 main benefits to doing it this way around. The first one being is that you can combine a lot more subjects together and then focus on doing them all your exams like really quickly. I have to share a personal story for you guys to also get the back end of this, the caveat aspect of this, and that is that when I was moving from high school to university, when I still went to university a few years ago, I had the problem of managing my time, and I actually missed a few exams and tests because of this. Now, this is rooted in the fact that I struggled with my time management, and you'll need a lot more self-discipline in order to be able to plan your exams and actually write them. Because remember, it's like your mom and dad, they're not gonna be standing there and like hitting you with a rod every time you don't do an exam. It's gonna be up to you. Now, the second benefit of this is a quick turnaround time. So you can choose to do like 4 or 5 exams at one time, and then if you maybe fail an exam, you can decide, okay, listen, let me do it in the next month. So it's really quick, and you get to experience failure more quickly, so then it doesn't hit you as hard when you fail a subject. So that's quite a benefit. And lastly, you can combine and focus on more subjects, because some of these subjects work well together. Like for example, auditing and financial reporting. They work well together, and some of them have certain links between each other. So it gives you a lot more understanding in depth when you're studying 2 or 3 different subjects that are in a way combined. Because remember, this whole thing is actually combined to make you a complete professional in accounting, a complete finance expert, you know. So they combine a lot of subjects, and you'll see when you study these subjects that they have a lot of linkages to one another. Now, I know this sounds like a pretty convincing route to take, like we all have been there, but there are actually 3 negatives that I want to let you guys in on with this. So the first one being, you don't really get enough practical exposure. Now, what I mean by this is that, remember, ACCA is designed in a way that it combines the practical experience with the stuff that you're learning. So with the practical experience, each of them have like certain PER objectives. For example, you have to set up a budget, or you'll have to prepare the financial statements or prepare monthly financial reports. Like when I was at varsity, if you asked me to compile a management report or an ad hoc report about something, I would have just looked at you and thought like, what is this person saying? Are you a bit cuckoo's crazy up there, boss? Moving to the second point is, it can be a bit expensive, especially if you're paying for yourself. Because the benefit you have when you're working is that you can save up money to pay for your exams. And while ACCA is not one of the most expensive things that you could do with regards to a degree or qualification, it is quite expensive still. And you should still remember that, you know, it costs quite a bit to register for the exams and all of the extra other costs. And the last point being, you won't have as much balance as you would probably like, because you'll be studying so much, you won't be able to go out to parties and all of those nice things if you are serious about this. Like, listen, the goal of this whole thing is to say, how fast can we pass ACCA? So just keep that in mind. But I mean, if you're an introvert like me, this isn't really a problem. So it's also, I think, a benefit in a way. Right now, looking at the bigger picture of things, we can maybe do the exact opposite of this, right? We can first do our practical experience, and then we can study afterwards. And that is point number 2, the second route that you could take. And like this, I'm going to be breaking it down into the benefits and the negative. So what this entails is you can go and work for someone for 3 years and do your practical experience. And then through doing this, you can claim from ACCA and claim your practical experience requirements without having to work further. And then afterwards, you can then go and do the 13 papers and study full time. So there are essentially 3 benefits to this. The first one being is that you'll have a lot of practical knowledge because you've been doing all of this practical work. So it'll be easier for you to apply certain concepts that you're learning into your studies. For example, in management accounting, when they start talking about budgeting and the different types of budgets, then you can at least have an idea. Oh, I remember back in my second year of working, I remember I set up a budget with Jill and we did X, Y, Z. So it's like you can relate and match those different topics, so it makes it a bit easier for you to be able to study and understand the workload. Okay, so the second benefit being is you can claim this practical experience as PR. And that essentially means that you can claim this when you're doing your ACCA as work that you've already done. It just has to be relevant in the finance and accounting field. The last benefit, if you are smart and you don't waste all your money on like tech products or desk setup, just a hint, go and watch my desk setup video that I made a bit earlier. So if you save up, you'll be able to essentially pay for your studies much easier and you won't have to stress too much about the finance aspects of things. Now, I think the negatives are a bit more concerning for me with regards to this aspect or approach. And the first negative being that you won't really be able to get significant raises in your company because technically you are not experienced. You don't have the academic qualification to justify your position. So it'll be difficult for you to maybe progress in the institution that you're at, especially if it's a really corporate institution. It's like a PwC or one of those type of jobs. But I think in smaller audit firms and in smaller businesses where it isn't so rigid, that might actually be to your benefit because you might, like I am, learn different aspects of the business, do a bit of collections, do a bit of the invoicing, do a bit of this. It might give you more of a depth of knowledge, but I think that could maybe limit you depending on the career path that you are wanting to go in. And you know what, like a second thing that I think you should be cautious of is that when you start working full time, the money bug bites you a bit and you don't really want to go and study again. And I know this only applies to like a certain amount of people, but you know, I thought comprehensively, let me cover all of these aspects. And it is certainly a thing that would bother me, like, you know, while I'm working and making money, having side businesses, I feel a bit less motivated to do my studies. I don't know. It's just something you have to think about. So the last option is, well, in my viewpoint, I think it's one of the best. And that is working and studying at the same time. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am busy doing this. For the last 2 years, I've been working and studying continuously. Now, inherently, it obviously comes with some challenges. I mean, that's what I'm going to share with you now. But firstly, I think there's like a lot of benefits to it. Now, the first one being is that you can be more effective and efficient with your studying. Meaning that when you study and you are busy doing your practical experience, it's like the best of both worlds of the previous two. And like, to me, it just makes the most sense. The second one is when you are busy studying, you start looking at certain aspects of the business and seeing relatability in the content that you're learning at the time. A good example of this is when I was doing management accounting, I started doing the costing of our kitchen department within our schools. Now, I work for a school in Botswana and essentially we provide meals to students. So I then went and actually checked, okay, listen, let's see what our throughput is, let's see what our variable costs are, let's see all of these different factors, and let's see if we're actually making a profit at the end of the month, because that's essentially what the board had asked me to do. So it's very cool to be able to study something and then be able to apply the knowledge instantly. So that is a real benefit that I would see with this. And I feel that while you're doing all of this, you're at least making a bit of money. Now, this doesn't come with any drawbacks, right? The main negatives I would say here is that, first of all, you'll struggle a lot with motivation to study after hours. Because, I mean, the whole day you're working. I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and then I come back at night at 6 o'clock. And that is like a full 12-hour day. And then I still need to study, guys. Like, then you still need to study 2 or 3 hours. So it is difficult to keep motivated in those times. And if you're looking for like certain tips about it, I made a video which I'm going to link at the end of this video. Now that brings us nicely to the last negative, and I don't want to end this video on this way, but another negative is it's for sure going to influence your social life. You might not have as many friends after this because of the time you're gonna have to spend behind a desk, studying, working, progressing yourself. But there's always a silver lining in everything, and the silver lining in this is that at least you're doing personal development. I mean, you've got a dream for yourself, and I think no one should take that away from you and be selfish. So in this time that we have, let us focus on studying harder and bettering ourselves and developing ourselves. So if you'd like to know how I'm able to work 60 hours a week, which is like literally 12 hours during the day I'm away, and then at night I'm studying 3 hours. If you'd like to know how I'm able to do that, I actually made a video to help you with that, and I've got a lot more ACCA content on my channel as well if you're interested. But that video is going to be linked up here, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Cheers.